Oh, good morning, everybody. Well, you know what? We've got something a little bit different for you today. Something I don't think I've done before in a YouTube video, but some of you will recognise this from the last video. And I'm going to show you in more detail how I achieve these rays of light. It's not as difficult as you would think. This is going to be... No, this is a lesson. This has been released as a lesson on MJS TV. You can check that out in the description below. For those of you that want to learn more in-depth painting methods, head over to MJS TV. There are 37 lessons currently on there, with one new one being added every month. Also, check out my social media. The links are in the description below. I really would appreciate a follow on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Well, let's get into the video, shall we? So, let's mix up some lighter paint then. I'm going to keep this, I think we're going to do a glaze. So we need some Liquin Original. So let's just put a little bit on the palette. Don't need too much. And we're going to add just a small bit to the white. Now, when we look at the colours that we have in those rays of light, they're very much a light, warm kind of green, but I think if we start to begin with a yellow and see how we get on. Now, I'm going to use a ruler for this because we want to come out in sort of straight lines if we can. So what I have here is a ruler, and then attached to the end is just a lump of wood so that this can sit away from the actual panel itself, and that will allow us to get these lines in here. So this is probably about 1.5 inches away from the panel, still resting there. I'm holding it with my left hand, and I'm going to use my right hand, get the angles right to begin with. Get the first ray in. Now, looking at that, of course, that's much too thin, and it's too thin a line, I should say, and it's too light. So we need to add more liquid. So get approximately the same angle again, and I'm going to kind of fill that gap up there. We need to work quite quickly when we do this, because what we want is that to then be softened, and I'll show you how we do that using the blender. This is the Series 8 medium. In fact, you need the softer the brush the better. This actually is less soft than it probably should be, but we can run over the top of it, blending. So continue to go over the top. It's still a very sharp line, and also I would say it's not colourful enough. It's almost it has a bit too much white to it. Just continue going over it until it's soft enough. So I think what we'll do is, we've got a fair amount of whites there. I'm going to add some green, a little more yellow, keeping that a fair amount of liquid in there. Put the ruler in the same place again. All we're going to do is we're going to pivot that, bring that the end nearer the panel, and I'm just going to pivot it so that we've got differing angles, and then just continue to put those lines in, adjusting the angle as you move further down. And all we're trying to do really is lose any sharp lines that we can see. So we just want to generally soften those. Now, the colours that we're putting in to begin with, we're trying to do this quite subtly. We may well need to build up on this, and I suspect we probably will. There are some areas that are a lot lighter than others. So get that angle again with the ruler, and then put in your area of light. We can adjust the colour as well if need be. So I'm adding a bit more yellow here. And then what I'm going to start doing is just adding a little more white, I think, and perhaps some orange. Maybe the orange might not be quite right. No, it's not too bad. And just kind of generally start to lighten up some of the areas nearer to the light source. So here, for example, that's probably too yellow, too orange now. A bit more white. Right, so let's first of all just emphasize the rays of light on this side, then we'll do the rays on that side. So certainly around here it's very light, and you can see some of these, like this branch here is a bit lighter in the photograph, as are some of these rays, especially round this area, and then they tend to die away a bit as we move further out. But let's show you how we do that. First of all, I'm going to mix in some white with just a touch of yellow, not too much at all. So there we have it. I'm not going to take off a little bit from the brush, it's a bit too much on the brush. And then what I'm going to do is continue with these rays here, lightening up what's underneath. Now this is more of a dry brush, so I'm brushing on. There's no thinner or medium here whatsoever. And this is the other way of doing it. So hardly anything on the brush, and we're just skidding over the surface with a brush that has hardly got anything on it. And then what we're doing is we are blending that slightly as we go. So in fact, let's add a little bit more yellow, perhaps even a dash of orange. So let's try and lighten this area up here, and you can see how that works. It's just slightly, what we're able to do with this actually is get a little bit more of a coverage. See, with the glaze, it's almost a little bit too thin in some ways. And then probably nearer this part here, I think we're just going to have a little bit more of a white than an orange, because the sky, well, it seems to be an orange colour going over the tree trunks, so it's making those appear to be more of an orange colour, but the sky is really just brilliant white. So and actually looking at it, what you tend to get more than anything else is it's the gaps in between those rays that are the bit that really stand out to me. So as you can see, there's hardly any actual paint that's going on the panel. And as you can see also, we're going over and over the same area, trying to keep it quite ethereal. We don't want any sort of real sharp lines. We need that to be very soft. Just going to mix up a little bit more white within that, because the area nearer to the light source does tend to be more of a white rather than the yellow. Just have to make sure that you haven't got too much on the brush. That's the key. So that's putting in some of those rays. Now we can increase those, but I think before we do that, we're going to add some of those leaves. Just pick out a few of these. lighter areas over this trunk here. Okay, so we are now in a position where this is totally dry. I've left that overnight, so we can start working on a little bit more of the light coming from the area behind here, the sun behind that tree. Over here on this side we have some more obvious rays, which we're going to do first of all, and we're going to do that as we did with the others, same principle. So all we're going to do with that white is add a small amount of yellow, not too much, just a small amount, and then using that Series 7 size 8, I'm just going to get these rays coming from that spot. I'm trying to get them at the same angle, so that probably needs to be a little bit more flat. And then just coming out from that central point. This is kind of dry brushing again here. Just go over some of those leaves with some white, just lighten them a little bit just in that area.